In this chapter, we will discuss about stamping. So there are some categories of documents which need to be legitimized by stamping. That is, you have to pay stamp duty. It's a kind of tax to be paid to the government. So that is stamping. And there are a variety of stamp papers available in various denominations. And regarding the types of stamp papers, basically there are two types, major types: judicial stamp paper and non-judicial stamp paper. Judicial stamp paper is used for legal and court work. So when stamp papers are used in course of payment of court fees, it's called judicial stamp paper. Non-judicial stamp paper is used for registration of documents. These are the stamp papers we usually deal with for registration of documents, insurance policies, etc. Right? So stamp papers which are used in execution of documents like transfer of property, lending of money, banks use this, and basically for work other than judicial proceedings is called non-judicial stamp. So a document whose stamp duty has been paid is considered an authentic and legal document. So it gets evidentiary value, and that can be admitted in courts as evidence. So stamp duty is generally levied on transfer of property, power of attorneys, affidavits, agreements, promissory notes, partnership deeds, gift deeds, lease agreements, rent agreements. There are variety agreement of sales, like buying a house, loan agreements, mortgage, variety of transactions. Government imposes stamp duty. The amount of stamping is usually as a percentage of the transaction value. It is imposed. It is levied by the respective state governments, and it varies from one state to another. It also depends on the type of transaction and the location. And every state in India follows a separate stamp duty structure. Usually, the value is based on the current market value, and on that, a certain percentage is levied as stamp duty. Real estate transactions like purchase of land and flats, their stamping is very important in real estate transaction. For example, if you purchased an apartment and you enter into a agreement, a registration is between you and the builder, then on that registration you have to pay stamp duty. Stamp duty is to be paid before signing it, as the documents are not producible in case it is not properly stamped. And the final sale deed will be stamped and registered at the appropriate local area office. There is another term with respect to stamping that is known as franking. Franking is for below 1000 rupees. Okay, this is one of the several methods of indicating payment of stamp duty. Stamp duty, you can either purchase a stamp paper and enter the contents there, or you can do it on a plain paper and get it franked. Franking machines will be available in some sub-registered offices, but it's not for very high denominations. It's for like below 1000. So up to denomination of 999, you can get the documents franked. So that the required documentation is franked on the document and returned to the applicant. Then there is, if you have observed this, you might have heard of something called revenue stamp. It's a tax of ₹1 in the form of a revenue stamp, which should be affixed in for any, if you have received any amount in cash, right? It's affixed on receipt for any money or other property, the amount of value which exceeds 5,000. So whenever, say for example, somebody has paid as a wage 5,000 in cash, above 5,000, then it serves as a proof of receipt of the money. So the person who has taken the money will sign on that revenue stamp, will have affix his signature on the revenue stamp. So that is proof that he's agreeing that is an evidence that he has taken that amount from the person who has given the money. However, this is not used a lot these days, because for example, nowadays the employers pay salaries by directly crediting into the bank account of the employee. In earlier days, what used to happen is they used to give at the first of every month, they used to give salary directly in form of cash. So say somebody monthly salary is 10,000. So when the employer gives cash of 10,000, what they do, they on a register they affix a ₹1 revenue stamp, and the employee will sign on that. So it's confirmation that he has received the 10,000 amount. Okay, it used to be used a lot in those days, but now it's not used that much. But still, it is used wherever required. If you received an amount of, it serves as a receipt of receiving amount of more than 5,000. So in this chapter, the questions you have to be prepared. What is stamping? What are the two types of stamp paper, judicial and non-judicial? What is judicial stamp paper? Give an example. What is non-judicial stamp paper? Give an example. We discussed. What is the benefit of stamping a document in case where the document is produced in court? We discussed this, give some examples. So stamp duty is levied in India. A variety of transactions we discussed, like sale of property and all. How is the amount of stamp duty usually arrived? It is usually as a percentage of the transaction value. Why stamping is crucial in real estate transaction like purchase or sale of land? Because otherwise it is not considered a legal transaction, right? For real estate transaction, it's compulsory. And what is franking? What is average stamp? We discussed all this.